Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Today we have Apurv with us. Apurv is a security consultant at Optiv. He performs cybersecurity assessments across different standards like PCI, ISO, and NIST. He's passionate about threat intelligence and assessing OSINT investigations and has acquired certifications like CEH, Security Plus, and CISSP, in addition to having a master's degree in cybersecurity. Uh, I'm giving over the stage to Apurv to present his topic. All the best, Apurv. Please go ahead.
Hey man, thanks for introducing me. Uh, well, the topic is powering through certs, and so it's about going through certifications. And as most cybersec professionals, all of us, even before graduating, start looking at certifications and which ones to do. If you've seen almost any job uh, description on LinkedIn or on Indeed, you'll see at least two or three certifications mentioned. So I'm pretty sure uh, you wouldn't be at all you wouldn't know any certs that are the most general or the most common ones. So we'll dive right into them. We'll have all right. We'll have the following things. We will start off with what the path should be when you think about certs. Um, well, of course, who am I? And then we plan, prepare, poop. That is in case you fail. And believe me, some certs are built in a certain kind of way that causes a lot of us to fail at the first time. And then, of course, we'll finish and then close for any questions that you may have. Um, so, like Abhinav mentioned, I got into cybersecurity in a very traditional fashion. It's a 2 year degree in computer science, 4 year undergrad in computer science, sorry, a 2 year degree in cybersecurity. And then right after graduating, I cleared Security Plus and CEH. And so this was long ago, right? So CEH version 9 is what it was then. And then very recently, I cleared the other three. So CISSP, CISA, CCSK, and we'll get to the uh, the nitty-gritties of each certificate later. I work at Optiv currently as a security consultant in the governance, risk, and compliance domain. So you'll see that most of my certificates are towards the auditing or core information security side, and not the other branches in security. I've also worked at PwC, and so most of my experience is on consulting side, which also influences a lot when you start getting certified. In my free time, I usually work as a teaching assistant. I judge, I mentor a lot on all these platforms, and I've just plugged in a couple of links where you can find me and read or get in touch with me. And of course, that picture is when I'm not as serious, which I usually am not. um, yeah, big fan of Harry Potter. Right. What's essential for cybersecurity professionals? And I'm not talking about skills that are technical in nature. I'm rather talking about things um, that are underlying and are needed regardless of what place or what field or what subfield you go into. And besides mastering the art of learning and having fun, you would require, almost all roles would require you to be a strategist. You should be able to figure out and find where exactly your solutions or your task or your responsibilities will take you. You will end up being a lifelong learner regardless. uh, y- and you'll have to make your peace with it. If you are not that great at studying, or you don't like studying as much, you will have to find a new method. Not just certifications, just in general, you'll just have to be continuously learning, just because the field is expanding at such a rapid pace. And essentially, it's just a cat and mouse game. You can't afford to fall behind. You'll have to be great communicators. Not sure how certifications will put you through that. They do give you a certain kind of confidence, and confidence helps in communicating well. to an extent. So communicators, you'll have to be critical thinkers, which some certifications require you to be already to pass them. More on the hands-on side, so looking at the pen testing certs or the threat intelligence certs. And then finally, you'll really need to have the desire to actually protect systems, and and then you should be good to go for most roles. So let's get into the path, right? Why do you need certs? When should you get them? And how many do you get them? Because there are a lot of them in the market. And one good reason, at least the reason why I took my first cert, why I got Security Plus, was because it made me stand out when I was getting hired. And out of a and you might be wondering, I already had a master's degree. Why did I go out and get Security Plus? Well, the truth is, I didn't need to. But as you see, another big thing about getting certs is doing market research and looking at the job roles around you and the ones that you apply to. And around that time, a lot of the roles required Security Plus or CEH, the entry level roles. So, regardless of whether I had a formal education, they wanted these certs. And so I went ahead and got one of them. Mm, a lot of time, this would be the reason for you to get certs. And while all of us wish the industry didn't uh, gatekeep and it didn't stop you from entering or let entry level jobs be entry level and didn't ask you to actually invest so much before getting in, the sad state is not everyone is progressing at the same rate, and not all companies have that kind of an outlook. So you adapt and try to get what you want or what you desire, and so you go and get the cert that you want. Another good reason, let's say you're not an entry level person, you are more in mid senior or senior roles, right? Certifications really help build up a case for promotions, uh, especially in consulting, right, where the entire model runs on your parent company selling a project to a client and you going in and working for them. These certifications help ease the mind of the clients because they see that you have some credibility, you have professional credibility, and it's not just the experience that you bring on the table. The fact that you have a certificate goes a long way in calming them down and helping you sell a project. And so conversely, it makes you a better, uh, a more lucrative employee. And so it increases the chances of getting hired or getting retained and things like that. You gain access to networking opportunities, of course, as long as you keep investing in yourself. In most certifications, you'll always get a return almost within a year or so, which would completely cover the cost of the certificate in the first place. When do you get them? And that's the toughest question to answer. I see a lot of students get them right when they start reaching their fourth year, and that could be kind of dictated by how the market seems and how competitive it gets. I see a lot of people get them when they are within the company. Usually the company is ready to compensate for and reimburse for their certification. That would be one good time to get it if your company has such a policy. I would say, at least for me, as long as you have the means, you have the budget for it, go and get it regardless, because it's improving yourself and it gives you a lot of ammunition when you switch. Um, the only problem being that you will have to juggle two things at a time: studying for a certification and working or studying for whatever other degree you're in. Finally, we come to how many. And this is tough because most certificates have a renewal fee. And you must understand, while the primary base of a certificate is to show that you have experience, all of them are money making businesses. So almost all of them have annual maintenance fees. And if you have too many of them, these things will add up. And you'll have to decide which ones are relevant for you and let go of the old ones. Um, For example, for me, I let my Security Plus and CH expire the moment I got my CISSP, and I just felt that CISSP is something that would help me more than me having to spend on Security Plus and CEH in terms of maintaining them. And I see a lot of folks on my network do the same with CISSP once they have like 10 years or 15 years of experience and they don't see anything worth it in it anymore. So again, it's a choice that you'll have to make, see what's relevant for you, and then give up the ones that are irrelevant. All right. The plan. Wait, yeah, the plan. So this is so on the left we have some roles that I have picked up from CyberSN, and I have a link at the very end of the slide, so so you can access these things from there. And this it just shows the kind of roles, the kind of diversity that exists, and this is a very small segment of what actually exists. Especially in the tech roles, right? I have just picked up the most generic ones, and there are so many niche qualities and niche roles that are coming up, and that intersect with so many other fields. So when you decide to go for a certificate, right? First of all, you'll have to decide that you're going for a certificate. Then you justify to yourself why you want it, uh, and what you're going to gain from it. Are you going to get it reimbursed? Uh, you see the point that is mentioned way at the end, market research. Do your research. Why are you going to get that certificate? Is it going to help you monetarily? Is it going to help you get a new role? Is it going to help you transition, especially if people are coming in from let's say a different field? Let's say, so I have mentored folks who have come in from, let's say, the music industry, all right, and they are switching from, let's say, a civil engineer role. They're trying to come into security, right? uh, Justify why you need that certificate, why you need to spend or study for that one. Decide how much budget you will need in the first place. So there are some certs that are $1,000. There are some certs that are $200. There are some really expensive ones that are $7,000. uh, just decide which one is needed, right? And maybe some of them look much better than the others. I would say when it comes to that, when they look really good, they look really lucrative. Consider, and this is a good trick to use. Consider, let's say you're interviewing for a role, right? You consider telling the company that, hey, I'm going to get that certificate within the first 60 days of joining, right? And I've already studied for it. In the interview, they'll ask you questions that someone who had that certificate would know. And as long as you clear the interview, most companies should be satisfied with you joining them and then getting getting the certificate, because that way a lot of times they are ready to pay for it. Or let's say if you're not making any money, you're unemployed, or you're just beginning, right? You're a student. It is a better idea to let them pay, or let some money come in before money goes out of your account. Moving on, you set up a time. A lot of people do it different ways. For me personally, what works is, mm, I tend to study till I am getting good marks on mock tests, and then I book the exam. For a lot of people, they book the exam first and then start studying. It entirely depends on how you function. And finally, predictions. This is tough. This is where you will need someone else to talk to. Ideally, this would either be the person who is already in a role that you want to be in, and can mentor you and can tell you exactly why you should go for that cert and how beneficial it would be, how it would improve your hiring decisions, things of that nature. And that's how you build your plan. This is this is a prediction from, not exactly a prediction, but it is a graphic that is not exactly global. It's very US specific. And so this is from CyberSeek, again a link that I have mentioned on in later. And then you'll find that certification holders, the ratio of how many are desired in orange, and the ratio of how many people are required, or are job openings that ask for that requirement, right? And you'll see how it, so a lot of people have security plus, and very few openings request it comparatively. And then so on and so forth. It talks about multiple different certificates. And the idea being that, look, most of the entry level certificates a lot of people will have. It is when you start going up the rung of certifications, that is when the number of people will keep on getting lower. And while this is not an accurate representation of, let's say, India or other nations, right? You can expect something similar to arise in your nation. And this is, of course, US data, and a lot of the major companies are US based, so it should not really affect you that much. How do you prepare? All right. um, I do a lot of self learning, so, and I seriously believe that you should do as much as you can for free first, and then pay if you really need to. Four things you need to keep in mind: you need to have a strategy, you need to get study materials, you need to have good memorization. And by memorization, I don't necessarily mean just ingest data and just throw it out, all out again. Memorization is remembering things in the most benign possible way. And then finally, a mindset. Each certification tests for different things, tests for different categories, and it's always a good idea uh, to have the correct mindset while approaching. And you'll see that by strategy, what I mean by strategy is there are different types of learning mechanisms. Not all learning techniques um, suit everybody. Like the graphic mentioned there, there is visual, auditory, reading and writing, which is almost visual, and kinesthetic. And so auditory means you learn better when you're listening to videos, stuff like that. When you are listening to podcasts and memory dumps, things like that. Kinesthetic is when you prefer touching and then learning. So it is kind of between reading and writing. Visual is when you learn solely from mind maps or visual aids. I myself am a bit of from the reading and writing section, so I prefer making copious notes, and that's how I usually remember things. For study materials, the best place would be Reddit. Go and check out a Reddit forum. At the end of this, I'll show you a couple of Discord channels that you can be a part of, and those will help. Memorization technique. There is always a Feynman technique that you could use, and uh, essentially you choose a concept, you learn about it, then you try to make it simple, you teach it to someone else, you identify what gaps were there when you try to teach it to someone else, and then you review and you simplify, and the cycle goes on. But then there are other methods. Like I said, you could always use, like how I do, I usually write stuff, and then finally when you get close to giving the test itself, start watching a couple of videos, just YouTube them, right? Just figure out. So for CISSP, I did a lot. There is Larry Greenblatt, I think. He has a video on the mindset of a CISSP. There is one by Cybrary. I forget the name of the instructor. And so mindset really helps, because some certificates test your point of view rather than the most correct solution possible. And it's always best to be in the mindset of whatever the exam is testing for. What what happens if you poop? And this is where you will find a lot of posts. At least when I was going through my personal journey of giving CISSP, there were a lot of people posting about success posts, but there were as many people posting about failures, right? And so CISSP is a certification, mm, a certified information system security professional. The certificate requires you to have 5 years of experience. There is a caveat: you can gain the experience later if you crack the exam and you choose to enroll in it, like how I did it. That's why I call myself an associate CISSP and not a complete CISSP, because I am still gaining the experience and I've just cracked the exam. Mm, What happens when you fail? You take some time off. Don't really feel that you have to give up. Just take some time off. Don't study anything for a while, and take time recovering from whatever hard work you've done. See, you wouldn't have to do all of it again. Now only the only thing that you have to do is you have to go over the gaps that you missed. Most exams kind of tell you what places you didn't score well at, and that might help. Let's say they don't tell you. um, the second read through will always be easier than the first read through because you spend so much time on it. For me, and then once you recover, it's very, very important to restart, uh, simply because you let's say you've invested 1 month of your time into a certificate, and you don't restart until, let's say, 3 months later. You might have to do it again and things will have faded. It's always better to start soon, but just give yourself ample time to recover. Finally, some helpful resources. For mentoring, you can reach out to, well, LinkedIn is the best place as long as you don't cold message people. um, LinkedIn gives you 300 characters as a limit to write when you're trying to connect to someone, and it's always a good idea to include a message. In that way, you immediately become much more personal, because all the people you are probably sending connection requests to already do get connection requests. And so why should they take the time out to accept yours, other than from the goodness of your heart? Um, you make it more impulsive, more persuasive by writing those, by filling in those 300 characters. And that's free, right? It's not even in mail, so you don't have to pay for premium. Like, coming back to the resources, so there are the three that I've mentioned. There is cybersecmentorship.org, which has a really good cast of mentors from different fields. There's Cyber Mentor Dojo, which is really good offering too. You'll see a lot of posts on LinkedIn. This is being run by really solid people. And then, of course, there's Blue Team Village. There is Red Team Village too, which I forgot to add, which is also a pretty good place to start. Um, the graphs that have been shown were from cyberseek.org. The first one about the mapping and things like that. The one on the roles was from cybersn.com, and they have recently updated their website to look much better than how it was in that one. um, for study groups, I would highly recommend try to go through one of these. See, for this you'll have to install Discord, and there is a dedicated CompTIA security, CompTIA study group for all the CompTIA certificates. There's a certification station, there's InfoSec Prep, and then there is it's not the official ISC Square Prep. It's not the official one, but it's very active. And so I know the owners, and I've personally been through almost all of them for when I was studying for my certs. Finally, the links on different learning styles and how you would want to enhance your memory. And reach out. Reach out if you need anything from me. I'm on all the three platforms that you mentioned. I'm on LinkedIn. And let me know if you need anything. And I'll be happy to talk to you.
Thank you for the wonderful talk, Apurv.
Hey, Abhinav.
Guys,
Thanks, man.
if you have any questions, please do reach out to Apurv on LinkedIn or Twitter or any platform. Uh, Thank you very much again, Apurv, for the wonderful talk. Hope to see you around again.
Sure,
Bye bye.
Abhinav. Good luck. Bye bye.